Hey everybody, Scoutcrafter here again. Mishmash Monday, our last Mishmash Monday of the year, 2021. Will be leaving us this week, so we have a few things to get to. It's been a heck of a year, hasn't it? But we have some great stuff planned for today, especially today's episode. A lot to get to. It's going to be a true mosh. So what do you say we get right to it? Okay, we're going to start off today's episode with a good friend of the show, a good friend of mine, Jimmy Campanella. He's out of Norwalk, Connecticut. Jimmy contacted me. He said, I got something I want to send you, and I'm really appreciative of this. Thank you so much. But check this out. Do you know what this is? New old stock, which you know how we love the new old stock here, and I know a lot of you do too. You could tell it's new old stock when the cellophane tape starts to yellow a little bit. I used to see that all the time. This is a Quick-Wedge, and they were out of Salt Lake City, Utah, you could see. And what it is, it's a screw holding screwdrivers, a set, a new old stock, and it came with the holder here. But look how beautiful these are, obviously in the Scoutcrafter red. And these are wedge screwdrivers, or screw holding screwdrivers as they're commonly known. And before I show you, I want to show you how these work, because a lot of people have never seen these work, and they see them and they say, I don't even know what they're all about. We got to go through the whole idea of the loved, very beloved, slotted screw. Now, I've had a love-hate relationship with the slotted screw my entire life, because as a kid, I have screwed up so many of these screws because I didn't understand them, and you just like the rest of you, a lot of them's just I hate them. A lot of them hate them. But then what happens is once you understand the evil genius that designed this, then you say, and you figure out how to use them properly, everything changes. It's like my friend Bobby Kanicki, who spent like 20 years figuring out how to rebuild a carburetor perfect, and by the time he finally got it, they came out with fuel injection. So it's the same thing with this. You know, when you finally get it, then all of a sudden you'll be dealing with Torx or something else that's a much better screw. But let me show you something here. Why these, and rightly so, why so many of you hate them. The screw itself is designed, and here is a typical slotted screw. And you'd say, okay, you know how this works. First of all, the size screwdriver you need to get in here, you would need one is usually as wide as the screw head. And for a screw like this, which isn't a big one, you know, it's a little over, what, 5/16 maybe? Look at the size screwdriver that you would have to get these heads. And even here, you could see I'm short. I don't come all the way to the edge. Secondly, the screw, when it fits, it has to have zero wobble. And I'll give you an example of what a proper screw would look like here. We have a screwdriver that fits in this screw. It goes all the way to the edge here, a little bit past. So that wouldn't work with if you were going into a flathead. But you see how it almost fills the whole cavity, but there's still a little slop. So you have to have a whole bunch of screwdrivers until you finally get one that doesn't go past the edges and also doesn't have no wiggle room or no slop. So when you finally get that, you're halfway there. But the problem with this screw design is, if you notice the edge of the screw here, okay, here's how, or the top, if you notice that it's thickest in the middle, thickest here, and at the edge it's thinnest. And that's where most of your cam force is going to be generated, because when you turn the screw, it's the edges that are going to be turning, not the middle. And that's where you get the cam out and the stripping of the screw. And this is why you either love them or you can't stand them because of the design. So you just have to understand them more or less. But these are your typical, and even when you have the flathead ones here, it's also thinner. You could see here it's thinner at the edges where you're going to have the most stress, and that's where you usually start to cam out. You'll see these, you know, goobered up or buggered up on the edge. So it's very difficult, you know, when you finally do get the right screwdriver for the right screw and everything's working fine, there's always a problem with the screw design. But they came up with much better screws. This is what we commonly run into. These are brass, but you'll run into them in zinc or steel. But the best screw head, if you like slotted screws, are these type here. And these are, they go by a bunch of different names. They have Philister head or pan head or button head, all different types. But you could see here the difference now with the other screws where they taper off toward the edge. Here they have extra beef around the edge of the screw here, okay? So you're not going to cam out and twist off as much. I mean, again, because they still curve down a little bit, you still have less material than you do in the middle, but these are much better off to use. And you'll see these used a lot in machinery and machine shops and things like that, where a lot of the other ones were for woodworking, where there'd be less torque and things like that. But let me show you how a perfectly fit screwdriver. Now you can see here, see the type of screw head on this screwdriver. This is a perfect fit for this screw, and the way you could tell a perfect fit is if you could do that and it doesn't shake off. That is a perfect fit. And how many times do we get that? Not often, right? Because unfortunately, the design of these screws, they usually fall off. And a lot of times the screwdrivers have a taper to them, which, you know, we like a hollow ground. The taper doesn't allow you to get that perfect fit, although it will work. You can see here, it'll work and it'll fit in there, but it's, you know, you got some slop. So that's where the screw holding screwdrivers come in handy. Now, if ever you're working on electronics or anything like that, a lot of times there'll be a hole in the bottom of a chassis or something that you have to get that screw in. And it's very difficult to. Sometimes people put masking tape around a screw and a head or whatever and try and, you know, do it that way. But this is where this shines, you see. So if I wanted to get this screw out of that particular hole or whatever, or put it in there, you would take the wedge screwdriver, put it in there and push down this little wedge action here, and you see what happens? Now it locks it into that screw, and it allows me to take this screw, put it into here, and once it gets started, all you do is you pull this back, you screw it, and then you pull it off when it's tight. So that's what they're for. They come in different sizes for different screws. Fantastic invention. I know 357 Magdad he loves these things. He has a bunch of different types, but if it really does come in handy if you like slotted screws. I'm a big slotted screw fan, and Jim, thank you so much. These are just absolutely beautiful, and they will come in handy. Okay, that was fun, wasn't it? Next up, quick backstory here on this project. My sister had this wagon that she used to use on her farm, and she overloaded it, busted the wheels, had plastic wheels on it, and it turns out it was her husband's wagon that he had bought for us. So he was emotionally attached to it. He liked it, you know, it had sentimental value. So my sister said, can I fix it, you know? And I said, yeah, I'll fix it for you, you know? I said, but there were much better wagons, you know, like the older one. This one's from like the 90s when they were starting to get a little cheap with their materials. But the older ones, the 60s, the 70s, they had all steel. And she's like, no, he likes this one. So I said, okay, and not a restoration, just get it so it looks like it's not broken anymore. So let me show you the wagon. And here it is. Now, who doesn't love an old Radio Flyer wagon? The thing is, I did a couple things. I wasn't going to put this on a video, but I said, let me show you. Maybe it might help somebody. I did some work on the wheels. I painted the wheels. I put new rear wheels on. Let me insert that footage now. Okay, so my brother-in-law had this wagon that he bought for his daughter like 30 years ago. It was kind of sentimental for him. It's an old Radio Flyer, and somehow the rear wheels got broken. So I reordered new wheels. You know, I said, I'll fix it for you, you know. So you can see these are the original wheels. I reordered, but the wheels are always going to be different. You'll never get the original wheels. And of course, the hub is shorter, you know, here. So another reason to own a lathe, because you see, when you put these wheels, these new wheels on, yeah, I'm going to put them on for you, and you'll see what I'm saying. You see how much axle sticks out? Now, there's only supposed to be about that much axle sticking out. So, I need a bushing, right? And again, like I said, when you own a lathe and you own a lot of Delrin, make up a nice Delrin bushing. You know, we have it almost like a press fit on here, but we'll grease the bushing, and we'll put this, slide that down here, and then grease the bushing, and I'll show you how this will spin. Okay, now we're using some super expensive synthetic grease on here, but because you're only using such a small amount, It don't matter. But we'll grease up the axle good, and then we'll put the wheel on. And you got to make sure the grease won't attack the plastics. You got to use a grease that won't attack plastic, okay? We have, and again, how much grease? That's just enough. You don't need a lot. And then we'll slip the wheel on here, okay? And now we'll put that ridiculously strong hub. Let me show you what holds the wheels on these wagons. Now, I don't know who invented this, but it's a fantastic idea, because really, you've never seen one of these wheels come off the wagons, right? They're always on there forever. And all it is, it's a small sheet metal washer that you can see how it's designed. When it goes over the axle, it will not come out. These little flanges hold it on, and there's a little ring on the axle that you would hit this down until it seats in that ring. And to get it on, you use nothing more than a socket that you just pound on with a soft blow hammer. And then there's a hub that just snaps over this and goes on very nicely. Let me show you. Now, I have to tell you, even though there's no bearings on here, it is very satisfying to see how true these do spin and how nicely they do spin on just a little bit of grease on that axle. I always love these wagons. Now, I had to paint the front wheel because it was unacceptable the way it looked before, but just look, using a regular, this is an acid brush or one of those disposable brushes you buy, and if you let gravity help you out and paint it. Look at that. That's an acceptable finish. Now, I'll clean up the little white over brush that I have on the side, but I think that's a pretty acceptable finish, you know, especially what this wheel looked like before. Okay, so it's, you know, it's obviously it's working now. It's back to the way she wanted, and it looks good, you know, it works good. Now, here's the thing, what I have to do. I have to, again, it's not a restoration. Now, this is not something, don't waste your time. When you get these old radio flies and stuff, you see this, you can knock yourself out trying to get this right, to repaint it and take all the paint off. It's not worth it. These things aren't worth the time. I got a really nice one for $20 at the flea market that has no rust in it. It's an older one with the metal wheels. Forget about trying to restore these with, you know, but anyway, just wants to get it so it be a lawn ornament or something. So, what am I going to do about here? So I'm thinking about it. I said, what can I do about that rusted bed? You know, again, I'm not going to go through trying to sand it, paint it. And I said, you know what? So I was on my walk the other day and look what I found these in the garbage. And you know what these are? When they sell beds, when you buy a bed, these are bed slats. They used to have a solid piece of plywood. It got too expensive and it was hard to ship, you know. So now they came up with these bed slats that they put in the bed. So whenever you see these, they'll always throw these out when people are getting new beds, but that's good wood. So when I see a stack of these like this, I grab them, you know. So I said, let's make a wooden bottom it'll cover the rust, and Bob's your uncle. Now, as crazy as it sounds, some of the most fun you'll have in the shop is when you get to use specific tools like these beautiful whisk scissors. Now, a lot of times these came with strapping, like these things to hold it in place so they wouldn't, whatever. And look at this. Look what easy work this makes of that strapping. Oh, what a joy it is to use these scissors, these fantastic shop shears. It's just fantastic. I love these things. Once you have your boards taken down and you want to determine which ones you want to use and what you want to cut off. Now, I only need 32 inches of this wood. So I can see I got like a little end here that's got to come off. Also, I want to pick the boards. This one here has the most knots. So this is the one that's going to be the crossboard underneath. I'll use this for that. So that comes out of the mix. And so I got these 4 boards. But this one here, I'm going to take off this corner here and this corner here. And the rest, I'll just cut 32 inches on the chop saw. Now, I'm sure that there are some people out there going, why did he screw it in by hand? You know, he's got all them tools, you know, got the nut drivers and screw guns and everything. because the joy of screwing a screw in by hand, especially when it's pre-drilled exactly right, is off the charts fun. And it's so relaxing, so enjoyable. That's the whole, if you don't understand it, you're missing the whole point of this hobby. You know, it's about the feel. It's about becoming one with the project, and by doing it by hand, you can get them down to the exact torque and everything. You miss out when you have that interface of a drill between, you know, a screw gun between your hand and the screw. When you do it by hand, now obviously if you're doing this for a living, you're not going to do that. Or if you have to have 1,000 screws to do, you know, your time is essence. But when you only have like a dozen screws to do, forget the drill, go by hand. Now here's a little tip. Always try and pre-drill your screw hose and drill it to the diameter of the shaft, not the flutes, the shaft. Now for the top, through the top wood, when you have screws that are threaded all the way up or fluted all the way up to the head, you don't want to have a tight hole here going through, because it could create a gap between this board and the bottom. So the top hole on the top board is always drilled at a larger diameter, so it'll slip here. You don't want these flutes gripping up here. You want the head to grip, and you want a much smaller hole in the bottom wood. So it should look like this when you're putting it in. It should screw in very gently on top, and then it should grip the bottom board, and that's what you want. When you tighten this up, you should see that it's going to slip on top and pull the top board down to the bottom, and you'll see some glue ooze out, and that's always your indicator. Another question you might have is, why didn't the screw from the top down? Because there's going to be pressure on the top holding it down. There's going to be no pressure pulling up. And for the proper depth of the screw, I use these, and these are coated screws. They're outdoor screws, but you see I countersunk it a little bit, and I still have a good amount of room between the top of the deck and here, so I don't have to worry about it poking through, even if the wood should wear. So that's an important consideration. Now this one was a flea market find, and this one here, you can see I paid $3.50 for it a while back. It's a 2-speed. But what I always like to do is, you know, there's that little oil wick in there, and I don't use it often, so a couple drops of oil, nice 3-in-1. You put 2 drops in there, and then turn it on, and you'll see it wicking. And we're good to go. Okay, we are calling this project done. We just went over with a little bit of Thompson's water seal. That's it. And I know what you're thinking. You say, well, why don't you just paint the sides? It turns out my brother-in-law is a patina guy. He actually likes the you know, wear and tear on it. Who would have thought my sister, of all people, marries a patina boy? It drives me nuts, but it's okay. Less work for me, right? Wow, I can't believe that was almost 18 minutes already. That just goes so fast, for me anyway. Jim, thanks so much for the screwdrivers. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll finish the rest of this mosh on Wednesday. Take care. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.